What's up YouTube? Today we're diving into the future of MIDI, or MPE, otherwise known as MIDI Polyphonic Expression. Let's dive in and have a look. So this video was made possible thanks to the folks over at ExpressiveE who sent me this awesome Osmose synthesizer / MPE MIDI controller for this video. However, they didn't pay me to alter my opinion or anything like that. They basically just said, hey, you do a lot of Phaseplant content. Phaseplant is an MPE synthesizer. We think it would be cool if you added that layer of MPE into your sound design. And that's how it all started. So like I said, they haven't altered my opinion. They have no say in how I'm doing this video or anything like that. So yeah, keep that in mind if you think I'm biased. But like I said, I'm just going to kind of dive into why I think MPE is so important for the future of music production. Yeah, so that being said, big thanks to the folks over at ExpressiveE for sending me this absolutely fantastic synthesizer / MPE MIDI controller, which we're going to use to kind of outline some of the core features of MPE. So MIDI was first invented by Dave Smith back in 1981. It was quickly adopted as an industry standard and then remained so for the next few decades. MIDI allowed for synthesizers and other electronic music instruments and computers to talk to each other and synchronize almost seamlessly. However, as much of a revolution as it was for the time, there were some glaring technical limitations. As technology advances, so do our tools. Enter MPE, or MIDI Polyphonic Expression. MPE is a revolutionary extension of the original MIDI protocol that allows for more nuanced and expressive control over each note in a performance. Unlike traditional MIDI, where control data is being applied to all of the notes in a performance, MPE assigns each note its own individual channel. This means that you can articulate each note individually, apply bend, different pressure, and different kind of timbre parameters to each note in a performance, opening up a whole new world of expressive possibilities. So what does this actually mean for music production? With MPE, musicians and producers can achieve a level of expression which was only previously possible with acoustic instruments. Imagine being able to bend just one note in a chord, or apply vibrato to just one note in an entire melody. This level of control has the ability to change the way we think about electronic music performance and production, especially for sound designers. So what does the future hold for MIDI and MPE? We're seeing more and more hardware and software adopting the new standard. DAWs like Bitwig Studio, Ableton Live, and Logic now support the standard. Plugins like Phaseplant, Vital, and Serum now support it too. We've seen various hardware synths and controllers adopting the polyphonic aftertouch standard, but in recent years technology has allowed for some pretty insane developments in the pitch bend department. So you want to get started and find out a little bit more about MPE. Firstly, we need a DAW that supports MPE. I use Bitwig Studio, so we're all sorted on that front. Then we need an instrument that supports MPE. Today I've chosen to go with Faceplant. And lastly, we need a controller that's going to allow us to play expressively to kind of map these different MPE parameters to the plugin. I'll be using the incredible Osmose by ExpressiveE, which actually has a synth engine built in as well, but today I'll be using Faceplant, like I said, just in case any of you folks want to follow along as well. And just on a side note, you actually don't need a controller to dive into the world of MPE. You can just draw any of the MPE data into your DAW, of course, if it supports it, but the controller will obviously make things a lot more expressive. Okay, so we're here in Bitwig and we have Faceplant open. Depending on your DAW, you may just need to do a couple of setup things just to make sure that you're getting the correct MPE signals through to the plugin. So in Bitwig, we just need to make sure that the MIDI channel is set to same, like this. And we also just want to make sure that the plugin has MPE enabled, like this. You also want to make sure that the pitch bend corresponds to the amount of pitch bend that your MPE controller is sending. That just makes the kind of bending a little bit more accurate. So we've got all the setup out of the way. Let's dive into Faceplant and do some sound design. So in Faceplant, we have various parameters that respond to different MPE parameters that are being sent from the controller. We have the pressure, which is kind of like velocity, and then we have the MPE timbre. So the timbre obviously depends on the type of controller that you have. With some controllers, the timbre corresponds to the x-axis of like where you play the note on the key. But with the Osmose specifically, the MPE corresponds to a similar thing to the pressure, but it kind of kicks in after the halfway mark. You get this initial pressure to about halfway, and then as you press it further, it triggers the MPE timbre. So you can use this for various interesting things. Like, for example, if you want a sound to become more distorted as you press down harder like that, you can do some interesting sound design techniques. One of my favorite things to do, though, is having the timbre control like an extra layer. Say, for example, like a pad or a granular texture in the background. So you can kind of play some plucks and then add in a pad if you need to. So anyway, let's just set up a very basic patch. So I want to add some release here. I want to apply the pressure to the level of this oscillator. Depending on the device, sometimes you may want to add something like a velocity to control the level as well. So usually what I do is I add velocity to control the level like this, and then I'll use the pressure to control the velocity amount. we could add like an extra volume control by just using something like this mix. Then what we can do is we can set up individual control for the velocity to the level. Okay, so to make more of a realistic kind of metallic pluck sound, what I want to do is I want to add some extra kind of FM sources over here. But with these ones, we want to turn off the output to the effect, and then we're just going to apply them to the phase of that first oscillator. Cool, that's some weird kind of inharmonic tones. Now what I want to do is apply an envelope to both of those kind of FM sources. Maybe we can do two different envelopes. Let's just set the one up first. Then we can set up some MPE parameters to these envelopes. Here's where the trick of remaps really comes in handy. So I want to use the remap to kind of bend this linearity of this control. So sometimes when it's kind of too soft, it strikes too much. And when it's too loud, it strikes too little. So we can use a remap to kind of change that behavior. So we can simply just draw a curve like this. Okay, let's add some effects. So here in phase plant, if we set this pitch bend to correspond to that pitch bend amount that we assigned both in the DAW and on our controller, we'll be able to bend like exact notes, which is pretty cool. So we can bend from the D to the D sharp, etc. Okay, that is sick. So here, what I want to do is, like I said before, I want to add that kind of pad or granular layer. So here, let's just pull up a granular oscillator. I think a hand pan sound could work pretty well with this. Although, I think the tuning is a bit much here. Maybe we can just use the single hit here. Okay, that sounds nice. There's actually quite a lot of texture in there. I like that. So here, we can mess with some of these parameters shortly. What I want to do here is I want to set this level to the MPE. First, we can turn it down, and then we set it to the MPE timbre. Because this is kind of like a bipolar setting, it's not going to actually trigger until we go past that halfway mark. Maybe we can also set this MPE timbre to control this level so that we can kind of ping a bit of FM through that oscillator. That's a bit much though. Here's some other sounds that I've made in Faceplant using a very similar kind of mappings and techniques. So combining this kind of stuff with like physical modeling kind of techniques is insane, because like you hear here, you get these kind of like almost realistic bell-like sounds, but then the pitch of the bell kind of slides, which is unrealistic. You know, it's kind of alien. You know, it's kind of quite psychedelic. You know, when you hear a bell, the pitch of that bell kind of sliding, the physics of it means that the bell is changing size. Which would be pretty crazy, obviously, in real life. You know, suddenly a bell, a physical metal thing changing size. So it's kind of a very weird sound, which, you know, I like that. I love that for sound design. Kind of conjures these very magical, psychedelic experiences. Okay, that's about it on today's deep dive into the future of MIDI and MPE. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. and thanks for watching. Cheers.